Hello and welcome to another video from me, Rough Swordsman, Wargamer. It's an open the box and it's an unboxing of a brand new game from the latest P500 from GMT, and it is the Musket and Pike Dual Pack, designed by Ben Hull. And GMT have bundled together two games which I believe have been previously out of print for quite a while. This Accursed Civil War and Sweden Fights On. And these two games will give us 11 battles from the 30 Years' War and the First English Civil War. So, what's all this about? The Musket and Pike Dual Pack contains two 17th century tactical battle games from the award-winning Musket and Pike series. This Accursed Civil War and Sweden Fights On. Both have been out of print for over a decade. For this special edition, two new battles have been included, Cheriton and Cropredy Bridge, and all orders of battle and maps have been updated to reflect the latest scholarship. There are a total of 11 battles included. And here for this Accursed Civil War, we've got Edgehill, 1642, the First Newbury, 1643, Cheriton, Cropredy Bridge and Master Moor, along with Second Newbury in 1644, and Naseby, 1645. And for Sweden Fights On, and apologies for my pronunciations, Nordlingen 1634, Wittstock 1636, the Second Breitenfeld 1642, and Jankow 1645. The system emphasises command and control and the unique style of combat in that era. Units are infantry brigades, cavalry regiments and artillery batteries. Rules include cavalry charges, use of the cavalry pistols to skirmish or use in close combat, artillery grazing fire, infantry techniques of fire including advancing, retreating and salvo firing. Play is highly interactive and a battle can be played through in one sitting. Other special features: the battle-specific cards first introduced in Saints in Armour are provided for each battle. The cards contain the turn track, victory conditions, scenario special rules and the dead and pursuit boxes. For each battle there is a complete set of units so that none are shared between battles for ease of setup and storage and allowing simultaneous play of multiple battles. That's handy. So here we can see the maps and some of the counters which look quite different to the usual fare we're used to. But in the box we've got the Musket and Pike Battle Series rulebook and the two playbooks for the Accursed Civil War and Sweden Fights On, 5 counter sheets, 1 series marker sheet, 5 back-printed map sheets, 6 two-sided battle-specific player aid cards, 2 11x17 player aid cards, and 1 orders summary card. No mention of dice. Credits, of course, we've got game design Ben Hull, second edition development, Dick Folders, graphic artist Charlie Kibler and Mark Simonich, with the production coordinator being Tony Curtis. 2 players, 4 to 8 hours, ages 14 plus, and on the complexity scale it is a 5 out of 9, with solitaire suitability 6 out of 9. This is a heavy 3-inch box, so let's get the shrink wrap off. The shrink wrap is off, so let's open the box. First thing we see is the playbook for this Accursed Civil War, and one for Sweden Fights On, but what I'm looking for are the rules. So let's have a look at those first. So here are the Musket and Pike Battle Series rules, which come in at 32 pages. So that's good. Just read one rule book for the whole series and then the playbooks for the individual rules for the battles. Matte paper and full colour as per normal with recent GMT Games. We've got the introduction, components and terms. And here's some examples of the playing pieces, the units themselves. We've got heavy infantry, single and double counter size, like the phalanxes in the GBOH series. Light infantry, cavalry and artillery. Here are the leaders. There's good old Rupert and some markers. And oh, look, here, questions. This is harking back to days of yore. Any questions about play? Send a stamped address envelope to GMT Games. Well, I never. And here we've got the sequence of play. Glossary of terms, and then breaking down what each bit of the sequence of play entails. So initiative and activation. So there's similarities between some of the other games like GBOH and the like. So how to do the initiative and activation. And just like some of those games, it looks like you can continue an activation and the other non-active player can try and preempt. A bit like trumping, I suppose. Preempting a continuation and preempting, a preemption. So similarities to other series of games. How the leaders and orders work. So you've got army commanders and you've got wing commanders, because at this time in history, battles were normally fought with 3 wings, left, right and centre, and each wing had a wing commander. So this tells you what your army leaders and wing commanders can do. What happens if you lose a leader, command and orders, and the type of orders you can do. And trying to change orders, that's reminiscent of great battles of the American Civil War, where you, I think, roll on a table, an orders change table, to see if you can do that. There is facing in this game, and formation states. So facing, I assume, is just turning the counter to point to another vertex of the hex, whereas, as is usual, these sort of phalanx type units, you have to sort of swing them or wheel them round. The types of formation states: hedgehog. I remember doing those when I was in an English Civil War reenactment society. As a pikeman. Frightening. Open orders and changing from column to battle line and back, I suppose. Formation recovery. Then we're into movement with an example here. Limbered guns, integrated artillery, bridges, reinforcements, and then some other sort of usual rules: stacking, the basic rule, the cavalry and light infantry stacking rules, stacking with artillery, cavalry incorporation. If a cavalry unit has taken some hits, it may incorporate other units of cavalry. Reaction. General restrictions. Because there is reaction triggers when the active player does something. So that tells you the movement triggers and non-movement triggers and what the reaction of the inactive player can do. Interception, where an inactive cavalry can attempt to intercept an active enemy unit if this is followed. Reaction fire. So that's cool, that's good. Especially for the inactive player, they're not sitting there twiddling their thumbs. There's a chance they can do something during the active player's turn, which is all good. Fire combat. The basic rules, some examples here. I think you can only fire on a front-facing hex. Cavalry pistol fire, normal infantry fire, which includes advancing fire and retreating fire and skirmishing. Salvo fire, heavy artillery only. I do like this sort of contemporary font they've used for the headings. The procedure, the results of fire combat, cavalry ammunition supply and artillery fire, grazing fire. So it looks very good. Line of sight, of course. It looks like the usual thing with hills and hex sides and things. And then getting in close combat. When you can do it, who you can do it with, and 2 hex infantry units. They can only attack a single hex. The procedure, the modifiers, and the results. Artillery in close combat, light infantry in close combat, and those pesky cavalry pursuing if they get the right result on the close combat table. Morale. So you can be shaken or broken, it looks like. Casualty threshold. See whether or not a unit will take a casualty. And these look like the amount of damage that unit has taken. Rallying, which is important. Routing. And special units and terrains. We've got wagons, we've got heavy infantry units with no pikes, and dismounted cavalry. Reciprocal hex side features, which are good for both sides. Swedish style heavy infantry brigades and Krait cavalry units. A mixture of cavalry and light infantry. I think they can either be treated as cavalry or light infantry. And then determining victory. And, ooh, errata. Hold on, this looks like this is errata. Could be wrong, errata for other games, because the rules have been updated because of more recent academic knowledge of the time. So, errata for Saints in Armour. Errata for Nothing Gained But Glory, and errata for Under the Lily Banners. Oh, hello. Oh, I see. There's new counters in this accursed war, but they've changed some of the numbers on the counters to take into account, I suppose, new research. And there are new counters in Sweden flights on. So I assume that's there in case people buy the update and wonder why the counters have changed. And one for Gustav, Adolf the Great. And on the back we've got sequence of play, summarised, the fire combat procedure and close combat procedure. Right. They look good. Them's the rules. Here's the playbook for the accursed Civil War with all the battles. Matte paper, full colour again, and 52 pages, and will be familiar to people who have played similar sort of games with the map, how to set up the units, things like Men of Iron and Great Battles of History. Will know exactly what this is going on about. So, all the different battles, which I won't show you because they're all very similar looking. But at the back, oh, there's Naseby. At the back, we've got historical and designer notes, the English Civil War timeline. For those that aren't overly familiar with the English Civil War of the 17th century, shows you a nice timeline there. And the Second and Third Civil Wars, organisation, tactics and weapons that were used, and designer notes, and some sort of hints on how to play. And on the back, bibliography, original edition credits, and the second edition credits. The Sweden Fights On playbook takes on a similar appearance and is 40 pages and includes all the scenarios, setups and special rules. And once again at the back we have historical and designer notes for Sweden Fights On, how they were organised and the armies, the equipment, clothing, game tactics again, and right at the back some designer notes and a bibliography and some more credits. Next we have 2 copies of a bifold player aid, so let's have a look at one of those. And here we've got orders and activation tables, orders restriction chart and the orders change table we saw in the rules. Here's that continuation and preemption table, leader casualty table and leader replacement table. Inside we have the terrain effects chart with the different movement points for the different types of units, whether or not it blocks line of sight, and any modifications to fire and close combat. And down here we've got the same thing, but this is for the hexside terrain. And at the bottom, interception table and formation effects on movement chart. Over here we've got the fire tables, heavy infantry musketry tables, light infantry and cavalry fire tables, the artillery, fire, casualty threshold and artillery range chart. And on the back are the close combat tables, with close combat here and modifiers, close combat matrix, which looks a little bit similar to the ones found in Men of Iron and GBOH, unable to retreat table and cavalry pursuit table. Next, a single copy of Player Aid card number 2 with the interception table on it, movement allowance chart, artillery fire table and range, reaction and interception zone summary. And on t'other side, the orders summary chart with the 4 types of orders and determining victory. Next, we've got what I think they call the battle cards. And these are very reminiscent to the battle cards found in great battles of the American Civil War. Let's have a look at a couple of those. So here's the Battle of Edge Hill of 1642. Here we've got the turn track and the 2 commanders, special rules and victory conditions, the wings, pursuit and eliminated units, and a box for the royalists. And these are double-sided. Here's one from Sweden Fights On, Yankow, apologies, and you'll use this one for scenarios 1 and 3, again with special rules, victory conditions, the wing boxes, pursuit and eliminated units. And on the other side, the battle card for scenario 2. There are 6 counter sheets, including the marker or admin sheet, and they are, as per normal, on the thicker brown core. 1/2-inch counters, and as it says here, this is for this accursed Civil War. And on the back of the box it says you could sort these out for each battle, which would be very handy. So here are the leaders and the units, all very straightforward. Little unusual, instead of having a single man showing you what type of unit it is, it's got contemporary pictures of how they were represented at the time. Here's the other side, and on the back of the leaders we can see an F, which I understand means finished, just like in some of the other series. When the leader has finished doing what it needs to do, you turn it over to show that that's it for that turn. Here's the second sheet, this time showing the parliamentarians, or the roundheads, and their leaders. And here are the two hex counters. We've got some admin markers here. And I just wanted to do a close-up of some of those units. Hopefully we can see those. They look quite nice. And then on sheet 4 we've got the units for Sweden Fights On. Some dragoons there, and those Croats. Sheet 5, some more from Sweden Fights On with their two hex counters. And the other side. And just to finish off, a generic sheet of admin counters. Next are 5 mostly double-sided map sheets. And I tell you what, I don't know if this is a new thing, they're just trying it out, seeing how it goes, or they've done it to give it a contemporary feel to the maps. But it's a weird, it's not the usual paper, and it's got this, I'm not sure we can see it, this linen finish on it, which is very nice. And similar, if you watched my unboxing of VUCA Simulations 1914 Narc Paris, they had similar maps in there. So that we'll be watching with interest. Before we look at the maps, all that's left in the box is the insert and Panic Ye Not 2d10. And of course, some baggies. Right, let's have a look at those maps. So here's the first map. 2 half maps, the first Newbury and Edgehill. And it's a shame we didn't have the crease down the middle of the 2 maps, so we could maybe have folded it if we're just using one of these. But anyway, let's have a close-up. So here's the terrain key for the first Newbury map. And if we zoom in, we can see this looks interesting because all these roads are hedge lined. And here's some more hedges, so that may impact on the battle. Here's Marston Moor. I can't get the whole map in, but this is a slightly different colour palette. But this time we've got some ditches here. And over on the right hand side, we have Rupert and Leslie, the movement allowance chart, the Allied command rivalry table. Hello. Down the bottom, the map key. 2 more half maps, Cropredy Bridge and Cheriton. So here's Cropredy Bridge, map key, usual hedge-lined roads, and a nice big river. And here's Cheriton. So these maps by Mark Simonich. Here's the Battle of 2nd Newbury, again with the map key up the top here, movement allowance chart. And even though it doesn't say, I think these are the hedge-lined roads. We've got the town of Donington here, Bangor there, and down the bottom, Newbury. Here's the famous Battle of Naseby, 14th of June 1645, Rupert and Fairfax. Again, the movement allowance chart, the order summary chart, a couple of nice contemporary prints there. And this shows us Dust Hill, the Broad Moor, Naseby Field, and down the bottom here, Mill Hill. And right at the bottom we can see once again the map key. Here we've got the map from Sweden Fights On, and excuse me for my pronunciation, Nordlingen. Again, movement allowance chart and a summary of the different types of orders you can do. Nice contemporary print there. And the map key there. Some entrenchments here by the looks of it. So a little close up, this one looks rather nice. Typical good looking Mark Simonich map. And here is Wittstock. Nice open spaces here. Bigger hill in the corner. Some smaller hills here. The windmill. And intersected by quite a few roads. And this looks like a rather large entrenchment. Here's the last map sheet showing the second Breitenfeld Battle of the 23rd of October 1642. We've got a nice big wood getting in the way in the middle of the battlefield, and lots of roads and a couple of towns. And just to finish off on the back of that one, we've got the Battle of Yankau with the usual orders, the leaders, movement allowance down in the corner here, and the map key. Nice big bit of woods to get in everybody's way. And that's the maps. So this has been an Open the Box, an unboxing of a new game from GMT. It is Musket and Pike Dual Pack, which includes this Accursed Civil War and Sweden Fights On, and has 11 battles from the 30 Years' War and the First English Civil War. So tons of stuff in this. And I'm pleased that GMT are doing these dual and tri-packs which give you so much for your money, and this is no exception. Well, I hope you enjoyed that and you found it interesting. If you did and you haven't done so already, it would be great if you would consider subscribing to the channel. It really does help. Also of great help is if you would push the like button of the video, the thumbs up. And if you want to be informed of other content the channel uploads, then push the bell. Leave a comment. I have not played this series before, and I know I'm a bit biased, but I'm looking forward to having a go at this Accursed Civil War. But what do you think? Let me know. I love to read them. Thanks as always to my subscribers. Thank you so much. And just before I go, if you wish to support the channel a little bit further, well, now you can. You can either buy the channel a coffee, and I'll leave a link for that in the description, or click this super thanks button underneath this video. Either donation, if you wish to do that, will be gratefully received, and it does help to keep the channel ticking along. So thank you. Right, yet another rule book to read. So until the next video, as always, you take care and goodbye.